What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Magic Market Watch video. Get some more impact from Dominaria United, as well as some questionable rises. But what's new? We've been seeing this now for a couple months. Let's start it off with the first card, Scion of Draco. We talked about this last week. Feels like this is basically a continuation of that week when a lot of cards like these were going up initially. Now we see it getting closer to 10. This and the next card have a lot in common where they're Keywords Matters cards. This one can give your creatures vigilance if they're white, hexproof if they're blue, lifelink if they're black, first strike if they're red, and trample if they're green. That's pretty cool. You could throw that into a lot of decks, but where it's going to shine is, of course, if you have the most basic land types to play in a 5-color deck. That would reduce this card's cost tremendously. Even if you don't, I would still think that if you play maybe 3 colors, you have 3 basic land types, 6 mana for this 4/4 flyer that does give a lot of good keywords to your other creatures, is a pretty good deal. And then we have the return of Weathered Sentinels. I talked about this card I feel like a month ago, and I think if you've also been following me for I would say the past 2 months, you know the trend. We see a lot of these bulk rares from precon decks, and this is from the Commander precon deck for Streets of New Capenna. What's shocking is that the scheme has worked for this card. You'll go over on MTG Stocks, which is again where I get all of this information, all these charts from. I dig a little bit deeper and I go on TCG Player, I look at listings and what the card is sold for. And I was calling a seller out a month ago for doing this, where they would list it at a ridiculous premium. And it seems like they've affected the average listing price for the card, because let me tell you something, I don't think this is a $5 and above card. It's okay. I think Scion of Draco is way better. It does more. This just attacks your opponent if they attacked you. I guess I won't attack you then. I remember at the end of one of my Market Watch videos that I said that I would be contacting MTG Stocks. I would try to email them, but I never got around to it. I forgot. So I'm actually probably going to do that after seeing this, because they keep trying to rationalize why this is happening, even though they probably know it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I could see play in Arcades, but so could any defender, any bad defender, because that's all about Arcades. This really doesn't offer that strategy anything new. If you're in Keywords Matters, maybe, but that's it. But you can get that on creatures that can actually attack without needing you to be attacked first. So it was a big question mark a month ago. I know exactly why it's going up, and we've seen the same seller now for the past couple months. Caught them doing pretty much the same exact thing here. You have a near mint listed at $9.99, you have a lightly played listed at $10.99. I guess the slightly worn edge there is a $1 premium. So yeah, I will probably be reaching out to MTG Stocks just to let them know, because I'm sure they don't want to guess at why this is happening. When they describe the weekly winners, they want to know exactly why something is going up. They want things to make sense, and so do I. Another card we have, it's a small gainer at Semester's End. I like this card. I think it has a lot of potential if you're a fan of cards like Ghostway. It's very similar. That's what you want this for. You want to be able to mass blink all of your creatures, reuse their ETBs, but it could also be used as protection from a board wipe. So instant speed, getting cards like these, it's very appealing. But you're talking about a card that was maybe $1. The y-axis doesn't really show us much movement on account of it being in increments of $20, but it costing you 1 more mana to do the same thing. Listen, those other cards are a mana cheaper, and they're not ridiculously expensive, so I wouldn't think that this would be a $5 card. Just keep that in mind. Then we have Octopus Umbra. I love this card from Commander 2018. I've recommended it several times. It's a great card to pick up for Commander. I don't think it's in that territory yet where I would question whether or not it's sincere interest in the card. I really do think people want this, because Totem Armor is ridiculous, and what it does is it gives the creature base power and toughness 8/8, and when it attacks you get to tap a target creature with power 8 or less. So it's a great quality aura that you can throw onto a creature. Again, it feels like a repeat of last week for a reason. We have Cezanne, Perverter of Truth, still going up. You see the average listing is around $40, which is impressive. Just a month ago, this was under 10. So percentage-wise, I would say that this is maybe the most amazing card of the week. We all know why it's going up. It's very clear and obvious that this is the only printing of the card, and it synergizes perfectly with the new Sheoldred. And oh boy, look at those foil prices. Yeah, could you imagine getting a foil one of these? We have Joyra Weatherlight Captain from Double Masters going up. I think this has a lot to do with the legendary focus, although again, it is probably one of those bulk rares from the set. So not hard to find at all, just be aware of that. The average listings and the market price seem to be consistent though, so I wouldn't be too concerned. I think there is actual genuine interest in the card because of what it can offer newer decks. Again, those newer decks that focus on the legendary theme. I mean, you get to draw a card every time you play one of those, that's pretty good. And then we have Blasphemous Act from Commander Legends. Talk about bulk rares. I mean, this is a great bulk rare, but that set is just filled with a ton of bulk cards like these. And you look all the way at the left of that chart, That's what happened after it got its reprint in the set. And it's one of the go-to cards in red. I don't think anyone has ever built a red deck and not considered Blasphemous Act one of the best removal spells. You could play 5-color decks and still justify it. It's super flexible. In a commander game, you're almost guaranteed to only pay 1 red, because if you want to wipe the board, chances are there's at least 8 creatures on the field. Oh, maybe there's only 5, well, you're still not spending that much to deal 13 damage to each creature. And you of course have the damage shenanigans with things like Repercussion, a lot of ways that you can manipulate the fact that it deals 13 damage to creatures. Just a great card. It's always going to be worth a couple dollars. You know, it's like Swords to Plowshares or Soul Ring. They can get reprinted an infinite amount of times, and people are still going to want them. There's still going to be some market for it on account of the fact that people just want it for their decks on average. Like compared to most other removal options in red, if you want to wipe the board, this is going to cost you the least amount of mana. Then we have our losers, which this one isn't so much of a loser as it is just recovering from climbing up above $20 real quickly. Torment of Hellfire has never been like a super expensive card, especially before 2021. You could see it doubled in price then. But it's done this before. As you could see at the beginning of that year, it spiked, it hit above 20, and then it came right back down and settled right below it. So I think that's what's going to happen again. It is a fantastic card, it's a fantastic win con. If you've always wanted it for your decks, I wouldn't feel bad with buying it right now. It could get a reprint. It's been some time since it got originally printed, so I am always cautious of that. It is a commander staple, there is interest in the card, so Wizards might take note of that. When they decide, hey, we want to make another Masters set, what cards could we possibly include? Well, this is one of the best black win cons in the game. Just dump a bunch of mana into X and you've pretty much destroyed your opponents. You've grinded down the resources. Then we have Psy Master Thopterist. I've loved this guy, and I never really thought he deserved to be that expensive. And that's okay, because this is just subtle value. You cast an artifact, you get an artifact back. Sacrifice 2 artifacts to draw a card. It's an engine. You know, engines tend to make pretty solid commanders, and this is a solid commander option. But of course, this is much better as one of the 99 just because it's going to fuel a lot of other strategies better. We see it come down from the $3 mark. It has been reprinted. You can see around Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, that vehicle deck, but you look at the trend before then, it was slowly climbing up, and I think it's great value for what you're getting here in 3 mana. Last loser to talk about for the week is a Chroma Vision of Ixidor. Coming back down after somewhat of a climb to 5. It's another one of those cards, if you're interested in keywords matters, you're giving your other creatures a ridiculous amount of power and toughness for each one of their keywords. It's also a partner commander option, so you could use something like Bruce Tarl, Double Strike and Lifelink. I think that's a very good combination. And giving another creature a lot more power and toughness and Double Strike is powerful. So it was a quick one for this week. I don't really think we've seen much impact from Warhammer, but that's something that we could always talk about in the future. Again, usually these sets have to release, you have to see some play in the metas in order for other cards to go up. It's not always instantaneous. So if you enjoy the video, as always, subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate it. We are well past 42,000. See you all next week.